Stepped into the building, changes.
Welcome to Eye on the League, the podcast guaranteed to take at least 5 minutes of your day. It's great to have you with me tonight as I keep an eye on the league and bring you my thoughts from this week and looking ahead. So week one is in the books. Half of us have tasted the glorious taste of victory and half of us have suffered agonizing defeat. We're going to go over a recap of this week's activities, provide a power ranking update, and then look ahead to next week's weekly matchups. Don't forget the weekly waiver claims are going to run tomorrow, so if you have any players you need to replace, make sure you get those claims in. So week one recap, we're going to start off by looking at the matchup between Burlington's Burliest and Nuff Said. Let's start with the Burliest. Horrible week. Marvin Harrison had one catch for 4 yards, Puka Nacua is out for at least a month, and Amari Cooper had a total of 2 catches. I started Jared Goff at a paltry 12 fantasy points. And I still comfortably won this matchup over the London Silly Nannies, or Nuff Said, or whatever name this sad collection of players will go by for the rest of the season. Is that dragon supposed to look like he's crying? No, on a more serious note for my opponent, Nuff Said has Ramondre Stevenson, who looked really good this week. Lamar looked faster than ever, and I think you just really need 3 or 4 more players, and you'll have a really decent chance at playing spoiler this year to some of us other teams. Moving on to the top scorer of the week, and the player who vaulted up the power rankings, Doghouse versus No Punt Intended. Doghouse has the number 1 wide receiver in week 1 in Cooper Kupp, who famously ran over 400 yards in pre-snap motions, in addition to his 110 receiving yards. It'll be interesting to see if Doghouse tries to get Jaden Reed into the lineup following his week 1 breakout. No Punt Intended is the current leader for the Biggest Loser prize and had a very decent showing in week 1. Stephon Diggs looks like he hasn't forgotten how to play football, and Alvin Kamara balled out in week 1 in a surprisingly strong Saints performance. I'll be really interested to see if any trade interest emerges for Jameson Williams, who somehow dominated the Lions receiving corps in game 1. Good matchup, guys. Our third matchup of the day can only be described as disappointing for both teams. The Purple Herbies emerged victorious over the Watmen behind the performances of Tyreek Hill and Kenneth Walker. I don't think it'll take long for the rookie QB Jaden Daniels to take charge of the Herbies. 2 rushing touchdowns and 30-plus points is incredible, but it doesn't do any good on the bench. Once T. Higgins comes back, this team will look a lot stronger. As a side note, starting Andre Iosivas, I don't even know his name, was a ballsy move. The 6 targets he received backed up the decision, though. On the other hand, this was a week to forget for the Watmen. Jamar Chase, Waddle, and McCaffrey were near game-time decisions with McCaffrey's last-minute did-not-play status causing a rare Kyle Juszczyk start. You know your week isn't going well when Juszczyk is in your lineup, doesn't have a touchdown, and still outscores 2 of your other starters. 5 years ago, Brandon Aubry was a software engineer with a computer science degree. This weekend, he scored 25 fantasy points to propel the New England Shouters to victory over Coach Klein's team. Anthony Richardson wrote a rocky performance where he alternated airmailing receivers that were wide open with an incredible flat-footed bomb to Alec Pierce. I'm still not convinced he's an NFL quarterback, but the guy has a veritable howitzer for an arm, and I can't wait to see him play again this weekend. Coach Klein had 2 guys ball out in A.J. Brown and Joe Mixon, but he also had some real duds with Drake London, Tank Dell, and his defense combining for 18.9 points. The bench is also looking a bit thin for Klein's squad, with only rookie Xavier Worthy able to put up more than 10 points. Question is, will Xavier see the field in week 2? The matchup of the week was appropriately identified as Big Day nearly conceded defeat going into the afternoon slate, and then thoroughly trounced blowout to score the second most points in the league. Dallas's defense, Jake Moody, and Mike Evans might just be the ticket to victory this year. Evans, in particular, with 2 touchdowns off of Baker Mayfield, looks like an excellent draft pick, as he always seems to score. Britter days are ahead for a blowout, and on the positive end, James Conner was the focal point of Arizona's offense. Should be able to get some good points there moving forward. All right, we've provided an update of last week's matchups. Now let's look at how that's affected the power rankings, why most people are here. Moving up into the number 1 spot, I've got Doghouse. Not only did he put up the most points this week, but he also has that Cooper Kupp guy we were talking about. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the foreseeable future. A really, really solid team. Big Day taking down blowout. Positive outlook ahead. Got to downgrade Burlington's Burliest. Losing Puka Nacua. Marvin Harrison not looking like the guy. Injury now to Devon Achane. Ooh, some headaches there. But still a solid roster. Blowout. Disappointing week one. A little bit of a hit. I still think you're going to be okay, though, as we move through the year. New England Chowdos, I feel like, is going to be the one to be most upset to be in 5th place after a solid week one performance. I just don't see this team as being better than the 4 above it. Prove me wrong, Chowdos. The Watmen, kind of lucky that the teams behind it are behind it. Could have really propelled down the ranks. I think brighter days are ahead with the Christian McCaffrey coming back. Hopefully a little bit less injury drama. And once Jamar Chase starts playing, I think the Watmen will be just fine. Watch out here to see if Mark Andrews hits the waiver wire based on his week one performance. Watmen have a very short leash. No pun intended. Very solid week one. Like I said at the start, I think that this team's just going to continue to improve as the year goes on. Then we kind of come to the bottom 3 now. The Purple Herbies, Coach Klein, and Nuff Said. Maybe that's not fair. I should probably put Purple Herbies and Coach Klein a step above Nuff Said. Nuff Said, man, just a rough team there, man. Still couldn't beat me when everything went wrong. Purple Herbies and Coach Klein both had moments when it looked... I mean, Purple Herbies won this week. I'm being a little harsh on a team that's 1-0. I just think that there weren't many teams in the league that you were going to be able to beat with that squad. Coach Klein came up short, but had some moments where it looked like you were going to be able to take this matchup. I think that there's going to be some W's in your future. Speaking of W's in your future, let's look at this week's matchups and what I project will happen. This is how we're going to close out today's show. Starting off, we've got Burlington's Burliest versus Coach Klein. I'm going to actually go for the upset this week. My squad's just real injured. I don't really know what I'm doing. I think Coach Klein's going to be able to take a surprise victory here early in the season. Big Day versus Doghouse has to be the matchup of the week. I mean, we've got the number 1 versus number 2 in the power rankings going against each other. This is going to be a dogfight. And in a dogfight, I want Doghouse. This guy is going to ball out, take down Big Day, and take a commanding lead in our league. Another strong contender for matchup of the week is New England Chowdas versus Blowout. I don't think that Blowout's wide receiver is going to underperform as much as they did this week. I think that New England Chowdas got a little bit lucky last week with 25 points from the kicker spot. This is going to be a pretty close matchup, but I think Blowout's going to be able to come out ahead. We got Purple Herbies versus Nuff Said. Till we see it, Nuff Said is just my auto loss every week. Purple Herbies, Nuff Said. Moving on to No Pun Intended versus the Watmen. Just the state of the Watmen right now is in shambles. There's rumors out there that Christian McCaffrey is not going to play again this week. We've got a lot of other moving pieces on that roster. I think this has got to go to No Pun Intended, and I think he's going to continue vaulting up those power rankings. I really appreciate everybody tuning in for tonight's episode. I hope you guys have a great night, and let's do it.